Welcome to the Without the Bank podcast, where you and I are going to talk about all things IBC, the business of banking, utilizing money correctly, and how this will help you grow your business and your wealth. All right, folks, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate that you came back to listen. I appreciate that it's your first time. If you are a binger, more power to ya. I don't know if I could binge listen to me for that long, but there are people out there that are, and I love it and I appreciate it. Today, we are going to talk about the transferring of money. And so I think that this is going to be an interesting topic because so many people think that money disappears. And I recently heard this quote: money does not disappear, it transfers. Think about that. Money does not disappear, it transfers. Nelson talks about this in his Becoming Your Own Banker book. And this is what got me on this whole entire journey, is one little thought process that I grew up talking with my parents and my uncle about. If all the money in the world was distributed evenly within a very short time frame, some people say 3 years, some people say less than that, some people might say a little more. In a very short time frame, the wealthy will be wealthy again, and the poor will be poor. I should say the broke will be broke, because poor and broke are two different things. However, money does not disappear, it transfers, and it transfers to those people that understand how to utilize money correctly. Think about it. There is one big pool of money in the world. That's it. There's not separate pools. We are all playing with the same pool of money. So then why do some people get wealthy and other people don't? Some of that is our thought process. Some of it is how we utilize our money. The majority of people are not paying attention to what's happening with their money. They get money and then they spend it. Yesterday, I was interviewing a new client, and this client was paying like 6.5% interest. And I said, "Why is your interest so high?" "Oh, we just bought this land a year ago." A year ago, interest rates were low. Why is it 6.5%? That's crazy. Well, I've always been able to make the payment, so I just didn't really ever pay attention to interest rates. And so the bank is probably just like, well, he's not paying attention. He's like, well, now I'm paying attention. And I said, well, now the bank probably doesn't like you very much. And he said, well, I don't really like them very much anymore. Because when we have guaranteed income coming in, if we have a guaranteed check every week from a job, well, who cares what the interest rate is as long as we can make the payment? This happened to me very early on when I had just started the infinite banking concept, teaching it. I went to buy a new vehicle. And I said, I don't have time to be sitting at the dealership for hours for you guys to decide what company you're going to run the financials through. Tell me what my payment is. Tell me when the paperwork's done. I'll come down, I'll sign it, and I'll pick up my car. Because we all know when you buy a car, it's as painful as getting a new phone. It's hours on end. The most painful experience ever. You just want to get in your car and leave, right? You came down here. Here's my car. Here's the new car. Let's go. Or at least that's how I am. Because that is my personality. Let's go get it done. And so I drive away. The next day or 2 days later, whatever it was, I go through my bank's drive-through and they have a big sticker in the window that says 1.99% financing on new vehicles. And I said, oh, does that vehicle have to be brand new? And she's like, no, it has to be just 10 years old or newer. What? This was like 10 years ago, you guys. And I'm like, I'm paying like 4.25 and they bought it down. You bought it down from like 5? So you bought it down 0.75%. So you found the highest bank that's going to give you the biggest rebate. and you bought it down. And because I was looking at the payment, they just gave me the high interest rate. I said I can make that payment. That's doable. I didn't ask for lower interest rates. I didn't check around for lower interest rates. That is what's happening, my friends. We are living based on payments. And then we say, well, we can't play with the big guys because we can't do A, B, C, or D. No, we can play with the big guys. We just have to learn to utilize money differently because it's all one pool of money in the world. We all have access to it. Yes, there are people that are playing in that pool, that are basically peeing in the pool and contaminating the water. So everybody thinks, oh, I don't want to go to that side of the pool because that's where all the wealthy play and they're dirty, right? They're dirty. I don't want to be wealthy because they're dirty. That doesn't mean that everybody in the pool is dirty. Some people are going to be. But to be wealthy, you don't have to be icky. You don't have to be snaky, right? There's a lot of wealthy people that do a lot of good things and a lot of good deeds. And they're all in the same pool. They're all taking money from the same pool. But the money that goes through your hands lands in their hands because they understand how to utilize it. I also find it interesting that I was listening to a podcast today and a farmer was being interviewed. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a farmer or a business owner. I don't even care if you're an employee. His comment was, oh, I don't know that about taxes. I hire somebody to do that. Wealth is going to transfer. And if your accountant doesn't know how and you don't know how, you are not leaving yourself at an advantage. Surround yourself with people that understand how wealth is transferred, and you will become wealthy. This concept, the infinite banking concept, living without the bank, this is nothing more than understanding how wealth is transferred and figuring out how you can take advantage of that so you have the wealth to go do the things you want to do, to create the cash flow so you have more wealth, ideally, because it's nothing more than a transfer from those who are not knowledgeable, who are financially lazy, to those who understand and financially are knowledgeable and want to know how they can create cash flow, how they can maintain wealth, how they can build wealth. There are a million ways to do that. We just have to do it. We just have to understand it. And our systems are not teaching us how to do that. And I'm going to say systems because a lot of people will say, well, our government schools need to teach kids how to manage money. Our government schools do not have anybody in that school that is a business owner. They all work for the government school. They work for the school system. If I have a teacher that is teaching me finance, I want that teacher to have had experience in business owning. I want that teacher to have millions of dollars so that I can understand how they created it and how that transfer of wealth went to them. I don't want somebody teaching me finance that doesn't understand anything outside of budgeting to live within my means. There are a lot of things that Dave Ramsey does well, but there is one thing Dave Ramsey sucks at, and that is teaching people how to create cash flow and understand why the transfer of wealth needs to come to them. Living within our means is not creating more cash flow. It is not creating a transfer of wealth to us. It is saying, this is all I can do, so therefore it's where I'm at, and it's where I'm always going to be. It creates a scarcity mindset. There are no ideas coming from, oh, how do I create more income outside of, oh, what's your rate of return? I believe that our financial education needs to start at home. Last night, my daughter said to me, she just started a new job. I said, "Did you get paid today?" She said, "Yep, I did." She said, "My paycheck was small, but my gross on my next paycheck should be $500 before my expenses and taxes come out." And I said, "Gross?" And she's like, "Yep." I said, "You're 16 years old. And you know what the word gross means?" Most of my clients do not understand what the word gross means. There is a difference between gross income and net income. Net is what we take home. She is figuring out her gross based on how many hours she works and how much she's paid per hour and blah, 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 right? Because she has a goal. This is how much money I'm going to have when I graduate so I can go buy a house. Now, she's 16. Her idea of how much she needs and my idea of knowing how much she's going to need is not the same. But it is my job to talk to her and teach her about finance. Now, our government schools can't manage money, and likely the teacher doesn't understand anything about creating cash flow, right? Mom and dad most likely don't understand about creating cash flow. The likelihood that our kids are going to understand this is very unlikely because the parents don't know it. So why does the wealth stay in the same families? Because those families talk about money. They talk about how to manage their money. They talk about how they created the income they have. They talk about how they figured out how to get the transfer of wealth to them. If you don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. We pass down what we know. Wealth typically stays in the family if that family talks about it and they teach it. I obviously talk about it a lot at our house because it's what I do. It's not a abnormal topic for me. I find it nearly offending when somebody doesn't want to talk about it. Like, why would you not want to talk about it? What's the big secret? How in the heck are we supposed to grow financially if nobody talks about what they're doing? And how can you not be interested in it? Because I really don't give a crap what the Kardashians are doing tomorrow. I do not care. There is a lot of stuff that I can't control that I don't care about. But one of the things I can control is my cash flow, and I do care about that. So think about how you can have the wealth transfer to you. It is not about, oh, there's not enough. There's plenty. Those that don't have it don't understand why they don't have it and don't think they need to understand why they don't have it and want to pass that responsibility off to somebody else. That's not how it works, folks. You need to understand it. Nelson talks about this in his book. My dad talked about it. My aunts and uncles talked about it. There's one pool of money in the world. That's it. We all have the same opportunity to that money. How are we going to access it? How are we going to utilize our money so that we have more or enough that we need, whatever it is that you want? That wasn't a huge teaching on the infinite banking concept, but it was a fantastic teaching on mindset, thought about money, and really looking at it and thinking about it differently. So I hope that helped. If that is the first time, that is not the first time I've ever heard anything like that, obviously. But if that is your first introduction to that, really dig deep. Go on to Robert Kiyosaki's podcast. There's so many podcasts talking about cash flow and what wealthy people do. And those are the things that we need to start paying attention to and mimicking. Because we can't mimic what 97% of the population is doing because 97% of the population is struggling. Right now, it feels like 97% of the population is lazy, staying at home, collecting paychecks or money from the other 3% working. Now, I know that's not true. I know that there are a lot of people out there working. But when I go someplace and there's no help, it absolutely drives me insane. Because remember, I'm not patient. And I love that whole patience thing. I just recently learned through podcasts that John Maxwell is not patient either. So that makes me happy. I'm not alone. I'm not alone in the world because John Maxwell is like super nice guy. And I always thought he was super patient, but I'm not. That's just who I am. Get it done. Let's hurry up. Let's go. Why is it taking so long? Okay. Let me know if you have questions, comments, concerns, maryjo@withoutthebank.com. If you have not read Life Without the Bank or Becoming Your Own Banker, you can go to withoutthebank.com, grab both of those books, read them, schedule your appointment, and we can sit down for an hour and a half free consultation. You get to, visit with me, see how this is going to work for you, if it will work for you, with no pressure from me to try to sell you anything. If it's a fit, great. If it's not, whatever, does not matter to me. But if you are looking for a different way to create cash flow, manage your wealth, and do it outside of rates of return, this might be something you're interested in. All right, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Otherwise, I'll talk to you next week.